In a small town surrounded by green fields and blooming flowers, there lived a mother named Mira and her daughter Ria. Their house was small, with creaky wooden floors and a tiny kitchen, but it was filled with love, laughter, and warmth. Life had not been easy for Mira. She had faced many hardships, yet she never let her struggles dim her love for her daughter. Every morning, Mira would wake up before the sun, quietly preparing breakfast and packing Ria's lunch. She would watch her daughter sleep a little longer, brushing Ria's hair gently and whispering a silent prayer, wishing her safety and happiness. Mira's life was simple, filled with small joys: the smell of tea in the morning, the sound of birds outside the window, and the laughter of her daughter as she ran to school. Mira worked as a tailor in a small shop. Each day, she would stitch clothes for other people, spending long hours under the dim lights of her little workplace. But every rupee she earned, every stitch she made, was for Ria's future. She dreamed that one day Ria would live a life filled with opportunities that Mira had never known. Evenings were the most cherished moments for them. After a day filled with work and study, they would sit together under the soft glow of a lantern. Ria would share stories from school, laugh about her friends, and talk about her small victories. Mira would listen with pride, feeling a happiness that was deeper than words. Yet, as Ria grew older, life began to change. Her world expanded beyond their small home. She spent more time with friends and school activities, and the small moments with her mother grew rarer. Though Mira never complained, her heart sometimes felt the weight of solitude. She never wanted Ria to feel guilty. Her love was patient, silent, and endless. She understood that life was teaching her daughter independence, and she cherished the thought that one day Ria would take on the world with confidence. Even in those quiet moments when Ria was away, Mira found joy in imagining her daughter's laughter, her achievements, and her dreams taking flight. The bond between them was invisible, yet unbreakable, a thread of love that held them together no matter the distance, no matter the challenges that awaited in life. As the years passed, Ria grew into a lively, curious young girl. She loved exploring the town, making friends, and learning new things. School became her world, full of excitement and challenges, and Mira watched proudly as her daughter began to shine. Yet, with each new achievement, Mira felt the gentle sting of time slipping away. The days when Ria would run to her for comfort and advice were slowly becoming memories. Ria's ambitions grew with her age. She dreamed of studying in the city, of experiencing life beyond the small town she had always known. Mira supported her silently, though a quiet fear lingered in her heart. She worried about the busy world outside, about the challenges her daughter would face, and the loneliness that might shadow her own days when Ria moved further away. Despite the changes, their bond remained strong. Every evening, they would sit together quietly, Mira sometimes speaking softly about life lessons and Ria listening carefully. Their conversations were brief, yet meaningful. Mira always reminded herself that the best gift she could give her daughter was not shelter or riches, but courage, wisdom, and love. One afternoon, a small misunderstanding shook the delicate balance of their relationship. Ria had been invited to a party by her classmate. She was excited, and in her haste, she forgot to inform her mother. Mira waited for hours, quietly preparing Ria's favorite meal, hoping her daughter would return home in time. When Ria finally came back late, she apologized, but Mira could not hide the disappointment in her eyes. Even in that moment, Mira's love was unwavering. She smiled softly, saying nothing, though her heart ached. She understood that growing up meant mistakes, forgetfulness, and learning from experiences. It was part of life, and it was part of her daughter's journey toward independence. That night, as Mira lay in bed after Ria had gone to sleep, she reflected on the subtle changes in their lives. She realized that love was not only in moments of joy but also in patience, forgiveness, and understanding. She promised herself that no matter what challenges came their way, she would always be there for Ria, silently supporting, guiding, and loving, without expectation or complaint. Through these small trials, their bond grew deeper. Mira understood that life was teaching her daughter resilience, just as it was teaching her to let go, even in small ways. The love between mother and daughter was not just in laughter or shared stories, it was in the quiet moments of trust, care, and the unspoken understanding that they would always be there for each other, no matter what. As Ria grew older, life outside the small town became more demanding. College brought new experiences, friendships, and responsibilities. She encountered difficulties she had never imagined, exams, competition, and moments of self-doubt. There were times when she felt lost, unsure of her abilities, and overwhelmed by the pressures of life. Through it all, Mira remained her quiet anchor. Though miles of worry separated them at times, her love and care never wavered. Mira would call Ria every evening, asking gently about her day, listening patiently to her daughter's anxieties, and offering words of encouragement. Even when Ria grew frustrated or busy, Mira's calm, steady presence reminded her that she was never alone. One day, Ria faced a particularly difficult situation. She had worked hard on an important project, but it did not go as planned. She felt disappointed and even considered giving up on her dreams. Sitting in her small room, Ria held her head in her hands, feeling the weight of failure pressing down on her heart. At that moment, she remembered her mother's words from years ago. Life will not always be easy, beta, but never forget that courage and patience are stronger than any challenge. Those words, spoken softly and lovingly, echoed in her mind. Ria realized that her mother's belief in her was unshakable, and that gave her the strength to try again. Mira, too, had her own struggles silently. She worked tirelessly to support Ria's education, sacrificing her own comfort, yet she never complained. She believed in the power of perseverance and in the importance of nurturing her daughter's dreams. Every stitch she sewed, every small sacrifice she made, was an investment in Ria's future. Despite the difficulties, the mother-daughter bond grew stronger. The challenges of life became lessons, teaching them both resilience, patience, and the value of unwavering love. Ria began to understand that her successes and failures were not hers alone. They were intertwined with the love, guidance, and sacrifices of her mother. In the quiet moments of reflection, Mira often thought about the passage of time. She realized that each day with her daughter was a gift, a treasure she could never take for granted. And Ria, slowly but surely, began to appreciate the silent strength and enduring love that had shaped her life from the very beginning. Time moved forward like a quiet river, carrying both joy and worry along its flow. Ria was now in her final year of college. The city life had changed her. She had grown more confident, more independent, and a little more distant too. Her phone calls to Mira became shorter, sometimes delayed. But Mira never complained. She knew that her daughter was busy building her life, just as she had always wished for. Still, there were nights when Mira sat alone by the window, staring at the stars. She would imagine Ria studying late, eating on time, and staying safe. She whispered small prayers into the silence, trusting that the same stars watching over her were also shining above her daughter. One day, Ria received an offer for an internship in another city, a big opportunity, one that could change her life. She was thrilled, but at the same time, a quiet uneasiness filled her heart. It meant moving even farther away from home, and she worried about leaving her mother alone. That night, Ria called Mira and told her about the offer. There was a short silence on the other end of the call, followed by a gentle laugh. Mira's voice was calm and full of love as she said, "Go, my child. Don't let distance stop your dreams. I will always be with you, no matter how far you go." Ria felt her eyes fill with tears. She knew that her mother's words came from a heart that was both proud and lonely. It was in that moment she realized that a mother's love means letting go, even when it hurts deeply. The following week, Ria prepared to leave for her new city. Mira helped her pack, neatly folding each piece of clothing, slipping small notes and blessings inside the bag. The morning Ria left, Mira stood at the door, waving with a smile that hid her tears. She whispered softly, "Stay strong, my child," as the bus moved away, carrying her daughter toward a new beginning. In the quietness that followed, Mira's home felt emptier. The laughter, the hurried footsteps, the sound of music from Ria's room, all had faded into silence. Yet, within that silence, Mira found strength. She kept herself busy with work, letters, and memories, believing that love could bridge any distance. Meanwhile, Ria entered a new chapter of life, new faces, new challenges, and new experiences. Yet, in the midst of her busy days, she would often pause and think of her mother, the one person who had given her everything without asking for anything in return. Days turned into weeks, and weeks slowly turned into months. Ria was now living in a new city, far away from home. The tall buildings, busy roads, and endless noise made her life feel faster, but also lonelier. She worked hard at her internship, trying to prove herself in the big world. Her days were filled with meetings, deadlines, and long hours, yet, at night, she often found herself missing her mother's gentle voice. Mira called her every evening, just to ask one simple question, "Did you eat, beta?" Sometimes Ria answered with warmth, but other times she said quickly, "Ma, I'm busy, I'll call you later." Mira always smiled, even when the call ended too soon. She knew her daughter was growing, learning, and facing the real world, and she didn't want to become a burden. But deep inside, Mira missed her child terribly. Every small thing in the house reminded her of Ria, the cup she used to drink tea from, the books on the table, the laughter that once filled the rooms. Still, she stayed strong, believing that her daughter's happiness was worth every ounce of loneliness she felt. One rainy evening, Ria came home from work completely exhausted. She had made a mistake at her job, and her boss had scolded her harshly. Her heart was heavy with disappointment and self-doubt. She sat on her bed, staring blankly at her phone. Without thinking much, she dialed her mother's number. When Mira's soft voice answered, Ria could no longer hold back her tears. She cried like a child, telling her mother everything. Mira listened quietly, not interrupting even once. When Ria's sobs faded, Mira spoke gently, words filled with comfort and love. She reminded her daughter that failure was never the end, it was only a step toward success. Ria wiped her tears as she listened. In that moment, she felt something she had forgotten, the warmth of her mother's care, the strength that came from her love. Though miles apart, Mira's words wrapped around her like a soft embrace. That night, Ria slept peacefully for the first time in many weeks. She realized that no matter how far she went, no matter how busy life became, her mother's love would always find her, through distance, through silence, through everything. And back home, Mira smiled at her phone after ending the call. Her heart was full, because she knew her daughter still needed her, even if only through a voice that reached across the miles. Life in the city continued as usual. Ria was learning, growing, and slowly finding her place in the busy world. The lessons her mother had taught her, patience, kindness, and strength, guided her every day. She started to manage her work better and even earned appreciation from her boss. Deep down, she wished her mother could see her small victories. Then, one evening, as Ria was finishing her work, her phone rang. It was a call from a neighbor back home. The woman's voice sounded worried. She said Mira had been feeling unwell for a few days and had fainted that evening. Though the neighbor assured her that Mira was being taken to the local clinic, Ria's heart began to race. For the first time in months, she felt real fear. Everything around her seemed to blur. Without wasting another moment, she booked the next train home. During the journey, her mind was filled with memories, her mother's laughter, her soft hands, the way she used to wait at the door every evening. Tears rolled down Ria's cheeks as she realized how many moments she had missed, how many calls she had ignored, thinking she would have time later. When Ria reached home the next morning, she saw her mother sitting by the window, pale but smiling. Mira's eyes lit up the moment she saw her daughter. The two of them hugged tightly, a long, silent embrace filled with emotion. No words were needed, their hearts spoke everything. Mira tried to laugh it off, saying it was just weakness, nothing serious. But Ria could see how much her mother had tired herself working endlessly alone. She decided to take care of her for a few days before returning to the city. During those days, the house once again filled with warmth. Ria cooked for her mother, made her tea, and even helped around the shop. They talked for hours about childhood, dreams, and memories. Each moment felt precious, as if time had slowed down to remind them of what truly mattered. Ria realized something profound. Love was not just about big gestures or expensive gifts. It was about being there when someone needed you the most. It was in the quiet care, the shared laughter, and the comforting silence. As Mira slowly recovered, she looked at her daughter with pride and whispered, "I am so lucky, Ria." But Ria shook her head and said softly in her heart, "No, Ma. I am the lucky one." The next morning, Ria woke up early. Her mother was already getting ready for work. Ria watched her silently, the tired eyes, the gentle smile, and the hands that never stopped working. She thought, Ma does everything for me. I should also do something for her. That day, at school, when the teacher asked, "What do you want to become in the future?" Ria stood up and said, "I want to become successful, so my mother never has to work so hard again." Years passed. Ria studied with full heart and never gave up, even when life was tough. And one beautiful evening, she returned home with her first salary. She placed the envelope in her mother's hands and said softly, "Ma, today, you can rest. It's my turn to take care of you." Her mother couldn't speak, her eyes were filled with happy tears. They both sat together, holding hands, smiling through the silence. Because sometimes, love doesn't need words, just understanding. Chamakta Dil. Years later, Ria became a teacher in a small village school. She loved teaching children, not just lessons, but values. One day, a little girl in her class came crying. She said, "Mom, my mother doesn't buy me toys. She doesn't love me." Ria smiled gently. She knelt down and said, "When I was your age, I thought the same. But one day, I understood, mothers don't show love by gifts, they show love by sacrifice." The little girl listened quietly, her eyes wide with emotion. After school, Ria went home and hugged her mother. Her mother's hair had turned grey, but her smile was still the same. Ria said softly, "Ma, whatever I am today, it's all because of you." That evening, Ria arranged a small surprise, a birthday party for her mother. There was cake, candles, and laughter. Her mother whispered, "You are my greatest gift, Ria." And Ria smiled with tears in her eyes, "No, Ma. You are mine."